9 through 12. After teaching 9 years at Central Juvenile Hall, Mrs. Avognon was transferred to her current site, the Phoenix Academy at the LA County Office of Education. As a teacher of 18 years, Florence is a firm believer that education is the one and only ticket for urban youth for a better life. This was demonstrated in the work that she has done with her reading intervention program at Central Juvenile Hall. I think she calls it A's at Central, and those A's are attitude, aptitude, and altitude. Florence's program was recognized for having the best record for gains in reading. Part of Florence's effectiveness as an educator and a mentor of incarcerated youth is to instill in each student's mind the thought that youth is fleeting. Florence says, "I share with my students that they were children much longer than they will be teens, and that what they do for these brief 6 years can dictate what happens for the next 60 years of their life." Ladies and gentlemen, I welcome to the stage Florence Avognon.
A few weeks ago, I sat with an old friend, and while I've known him for nearly 30 years, he said something to me that he'd never said before. He said that I was the one person in his life that did exactly what I said I would do. He went on to say that I had actually motivated him to go to college. I never imagined this to be the case. You see, we were both struggling inner-city teens in single-parent households with siblings and no car. He told me, "I heard you say you were going to Howard, and the next thing I knew, you were leaving." He had never told me that story before, and his admission has been instrumental. You see, I realized that what I did for that friend at the age of 19, I passionately and purposely tried to do for every child I've ever met since entering that wonderful world called the classroom. He asked me what it was that pushed me, what made me move when so many others were being held back. I said that it could be summed up in just 2 words, 2 very powerful words: seeing beyond. Seeing beyond means hope, persistence, optimism, projecting, overcoming, innovation, and expansion. To teachers, it means all these things and much, much more. I told my friend, as I told my students, I had to see past the now. Although I didn't realize what was happening when I was a kid, I was surrounded by people who insisted that I see beyond the intersection of Western and Slauson in South Los Angeles. The first was my mom, who quietly got up every Saturday while she thought all of her 4 daughters were sleeping to calculate her bills and to make sure we could survive the next week. She was seeing beyond for us. The youngest of 4 girls, I vividly remember my eldest sister getting her first job at Jack in the Box and proudly rising with my mom on Saturdays to insist that she now share the burden of seeing beyond with her. That sister is now Director of International Marketing in the Americas for Dell Computers. The visionaries outside of my home included a 3rd grade teacher, Miss Tanny, who insisted that I write her a poem every weekend, and she would write back. Each time I eat dried fruit, I think of her because she was the first to take me and my sisters to a farmer's market. And the 6th grade teacher, Mr. Vaupel, who fed me spelling words from Reader's Digest because he thought I should be challenged. And Mrs. Eartha Mae Robinson, my 8th grade science teacher, who angrily proclaimed that we better quiet down and figure out how to brag tomorrow before tomorrow bragged us. She made me see beyond. Finally, there were the authors who seemed to be right there with me, at home, in class, on my street, at the grocery store, for they had grown up so very similar to me, only in other parts of the country, yet they had survived and even thrived. Nikki Giovanni, Sonia Sanchez, Langston Hughes, Maya Angelou had pinned my journey even before I started. They made me see beyond. I now have this brilliant opportunity to help others see beyond, to clear away the brush of dead friends and absent parents, or the fog of low self-esteem and hungry nights. For the past 20 years, I have served children who find it very hard to see beyond their gang-infested neighborhoods, their drug-addicted parents or guardians, their academic experiences of being labeled as failures, or the numerous group homes they've encountered. In some cases, their struggle may merely have been the parent who couldn't see beyond. Girls don't need to go away to college. Why don't you get a job? They ain't gonna hire you anyway if you get a degree. My services would have been impossible without holding hands with my fellow teachers, partnering with parents who really do want something better, and being supported by administrative leaders like my principal, Mr. Perez, who promote teacher collaboration and innovative ideas in the classroom. Each year I inform students that their teen years are the shortest period of their lives, but can have the biggest impact. They are silent, and we immediately all see beyond together. Today, my students are one smart board, iPad, and starboard touch away from seeing their favorite authors. It makes their beyond so much closer. And while I discovered my story in the prose of Sonia Sanchez, students can discover that another student thousands of miles away is telling their same story on a blog. Imagine a girl from Somalia sharing with our urban youth her persistence to overcome violence and hunger. A Mexican-American child forsaken by both parents due to alcohol and drugs, left on a bus bench stop and raised by African-American foster parents, whose death finally shattered his world and caused him to lash out, get kicked out of one school, and end up in my class at Crenshaw in the spring of '96. 5 years later, the loneliness of his past would haunt him, and he would run into his dad in an LA County prison. 7 years later, he would earn a magna cum laude diploma from UCLA. And just 2 years ago, we hugged him in tears as he received his master's from UCLA after visiting my class weekly for his thesis. His topic, resilience in the at-risk youth. David is now a teacher in Los Angeles. Lori Fuller saw beyond. Each time I tell her story, I am renewed as a teacher. Lori grew up about 5 minutes away from where I grew up. Lori's mom, like my mom, came from humble means and doubted the value of a college education. Manual labor or vocational skills have allowed our mothers to feed us. The pessimism in her household would often cause her to question her goals. I saw it often upon arrival to school, at the speech tournaments I dragged her to, and whenever she needed parental permission for something. In between my lessons, I made it my commitment to make Lori see beyond. She did. Now Lori is program coordinator of student activities at UC Davis. Can you stand, please, Lori? I am oh so fortunate. You see, I am where I am supposed to be. I saw each and every one of my students years before I met them.